Well, a Baltimore County community is grieving after a child and her grandmother are killed by a driver while on a stroll in their neighborhood. Residents gathering this evening to mourn and voice their frustration about a tragedy they say could have been avoided. WJZ is live. George Solis has more on the emotional service. George?
And Mary, there really is a mixture of sadness and anger within this community tonight. Behind me, there is a small vigil that's growing near the scene of this accident. Now, authorities earlier today identifying the victims as 5-year-old Delaney Gaddis and her grandmother, Deborah Limmer. Residents that live out here in part blaming this tragedy for the roadway right behind me. Under gray and ominous skies, grieving members of one Baltimore County community huddling together under the pavilion outside Pot Springs Elementary Monday. The location roughly a half a mile from where a 5-year-old and her grandmother were killed by a driver police say lost control behind the wheel.
When I heard about it at work, I broke down because I couldn't imagine what this mother is going through.
Cassie Newman organizing the vigil despite having no connection to the family.
It shows a lot that we're coming here today in the rain to remember a little girl and her grandmother.
The tragedy unfolding just before 7 a.m. Police and fire called out to the scene at the intersection of Girdwood and Londonderry Road. Authorities say a 22-year-old woman inexplicably left the road and went onto the sidewalk where Deborah Limmer was out walking her granddaughter, Delaney Gaddis. Joe Hartnett rushed over to help after hearing the commotion. His heart in pieces at the sight of the empty, mangled stroller.
I went over to the girl to get a pulse. She wasn't really breathing.
The two were rushed to the hospital but did not survive their injuries. The driver of the SUV at the center of the crash staying behind and cooperating with police, a move neighbors like Newman are grateful for.
Whether it was mechanical issues or she was texting or distracted, we don't know. Regardless, when she hit them, she didn't leave.
What residents here do know is that this isn't the first accident along this stretch of road.
There needs to be a change in the design of that whole area.
Now, neighbors tell us that there are several speed bumps along this road, several, in fact, that we drove over, but they say it's not much of a deterrent for the speeding in the neighborhood, which is why the sign behind me over my shoulder where the memorial says drive like your kids live here. Now, residents say this is so unacceptable. They do plan on petitioning Baltimore County leaders to get something done before another tragedy like this occurs. Live in Baltimore County tonight, George Solis reporting for WJZ.
All right, George, thank you. Police say the 22-year-old driver and her 25-year-old passenger only had minor injuries. The crash is certainly still under investigation. Authorities have not said if the driver will face charges.